Here's my review for Paddington in Peru. Now, the first two Paddington movies I find to be just delightful. And when the reviews first started coming out for this movie, people were saying that it's the weakest of the trilogy, but still great. And I feel like I have not seen the first two. I have seen the first two. I have not seen the first two in a while. So when I came out of this movie, I still just had a really great time. And it was just fun. And it's so nice to see, like, it may sound like a generic thing to say, but just seeing, like, this movie just really with no cynicism, because Paddington as a character is just so much fun and so likable. That's what I just loved about this movie. And in this movie, Paddington and his family, of course, with the Brown family, go to Peru to visit Paddington's Aunt Lucy. And then they realize that she is missing. And so a lot of this movie is actually just an adventure movie trying to find her. And I found it to be really fun. There are so many scenes in this movie that are just so much just over the top and silly. And like when Olivia Colman's nun character at this home for retired bears is flying the plane. And it's just like moments like this where it's just, we know the tone of this movie is just how silly it is. But it's just so much fun because all of these characters are just delightful. And I think that's what makes all these movies so good. Where even if the plot themselves, like, they're good, but just not like super compelling, just these characters are all just so much fun to be around. Also, Antonio Banderas plays the ship captain when they're going through the Amazon rainforest, and he is just great. He's one of those actors where it's like, his voice is just so naturally just fun to listen to. Like, I don't know what it is, like whether he's, or like, of course we all love him as Puss in Boots. And he's just so much fun. Like in this, and he basically has his own subplot and own character arc, which I found to be very compelling. Like throughout the movie, we realize that he's trying to find El Dorado, like the city of gold, and he's being haunted by his ancestors, basically. Which I found to just be really interesting and compelling because there's this dynamic between of him being so greedy and money hungry and him kind of almost like ignoring his daughter, and then him going on a character arc and learning that, yes, he already has the treasure. It's his daughter. I thought that was just a beautiful just subplot that I just enjoyed so much. And there's so many just fun scenes in this movie, like when they accidentally go on the wrong river and then they basically just go into this really dangerous river. And it's just scenes like that. This is just a fun and delightful movie that just made me just have a ton of fun with it. And I have seen some people saying, like I said, a lot of people say how this is the worst of the trilogy, even though it's still good. And this does have a different director, and Mrs. Brown was recast. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, I didn't really notice, like, it still feels like Paddington. Like, oftentimes when they get a different director for a sequel for a movie, it can feel a little off, but I didn't really feel that way. Like, I still found this to be just as charming as the other two. So maybe that's just me. And yeah, I thought this movie was just great. And now I'm going to go into some more spoilers, just so you know. So if you don't want to get involved in that, just leave right now. I'm going to get into more spoilers and just talk about some things that kind of bothered me, even though I still liked this movie. So, spoiler number 1. So we find out through this movie that Olivia Colman's nun character is basically this villain, and she's also trying to find, like, this gold, and if she finds out, like, she could only do it through Paddington, and basically intentionally got Aunt Lucy kidnapped through, like, basically got Aunt Lucy kidnapped just to get Paddington to come to Peru. And she's the one who sent all the letters because she knows that she needs Paddington to find this treasure. And it's not that I find. That's not the main problem that I have with this movie. Like, it's not really a problem. It's just a nitpick, just because this movie overall is just so delightful. Like, that part's fine. But what I just don't understand is, throughout this movie, like, we know that Paddington wants to see his Aunt Lucy. But then, towards the end, when they finally reunite, like, and we find that El Dorado is basically where all these other bears are, like, there's this very emotional moment where Paddington they think that he's going to leave the Brown family, but then he says, no, I already have my family, and it's with the Browns. And that was a very beautiful scene. But one thing like I said, I liked this movie so much, but one thing that just personally bothered me is just, so you you go through all this work to find Aunt Lucy, and then you kind of just like leave her? What? That doesn't make any sense. Just to go back with the Browns and you just leave her there? I don't know. Maybe I missed something. I just thought that was really weird. But like I said, those are really just nitpicks. I still had a great time with this movie. I mean, even though obviously we're very early on, but this is definitely one of my favorite movies of the year because it's just so much fun. And like I just keep saying, it's just charming, just no cynicism. And I know that maybe sounds like a cheesy and generic thing to say, but it's like, it's so nice just to have a movie that's just overall just has such a fun and upbeat vibe to it, but still is able to carry some great emotion, especially like I said, with Antonio Banderas' character and his daughter with Antonio having a great character arc of him learning to like love his daughter and stop being so greedy for the gold. But yeah, I thought this movie was still just delightful, and watching it, and after I watched it, I'm just like, wow, I just want to just keep seeing this bear. Like I would happily watch a Paddington 4. I would love it. So yeah, if you enjoyed the first two Paddington movies, I would definitely recommend seeing this movie. I think that it was an absolute blast. It is so much fun. Like I said, I have those tiny nitpicks, but overall, this is just a really fun and charming movie. And yeah, just go see it. I liked it. I really liked it.